Hey, friends, I'm absolutely thrilled you're here. Welcome to the Prep Athletics Podcast, and it's great spending time with you. If you're a new listener to the podcast, welcome. We're glad you're here. On this episode, we don't sugarcoat anything. We talk to prep school coaches, we talk to recruiting experts to help find you the information you need to make the best decision for either you as a player situation, a teammate you might know, one of your players, or if you're a family looking for information, we help with that as well. We're so glad you're here. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you may have at our website, prepathletics.com. All my contact information is on there. Would love to hear your feedback or comments. If you like this podcast, be sure to share it with somebody. Send them a link. Send them an episode you like. We want to get this word out here and make sure everyone is as educated as possible. And this week's episode, we have Coach Jim Driggs on from Albany Academy. Coach Driggs grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, and played at St. Joseph High School, and then chose to play at Hamilton College, where his senior year, he led the country in assists. So we talk about that. He also had a bunch of college stops before he ended up at Albany Academy, which is now in his first year of playing in NEPSAC AA. We talk about that. We talk about his development, how he develops players, how he deals with playing time promises, should you reclassify or not, and then his college placement strategy. So great conversation with Coach Driggs of Albany Academy. And if you like this as well, be sure to subscribe on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as our YouTube channel and our newsletter at prepathletics.com. Now enjoy our conversation with Coach Jim Driggs of Albany Academy. Welcome to the Prep Athletics Podcast. This is Cory Heitz.
Some battles. I'm not sure if they got us. If they did, maybe.
So you will get better as a player during that year.
So it was kind of exciting. Like, oh yeah, somebody wants me.
Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here, Cory.
Yeah. Now you tell me where you grew up and what got you into basketball.
I grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, which actually right down the street from Fairfield University. So I used to hang out in that gym all the time with Paul Cormier, whose son James Cormier is head coach at Cushing now. And then fast forward, I went to a very well-known high school basketball program in Connecticut, St. Joe's, coached by a legendary coach, Vito Montelli. And then went on to Hamilton College. And I guess where I'm going is that I played for a tremendous high school coach and then a legendary college coach. And just being around those two men early in my life had a great impact on me. And I just saw how they were able to impact so many lives. And I love the game and just wanted to make it a career.
Now you chose Hamilton College. Who else were you looking at as a senior, and why did you choose Hamilton?
I think it was a balance between academics and athletics. Obviously, the NESCAC back then was a place that people wanted to play in. I was being recruited by similar schools in the NESCAC, a couple of UAA schools, and really it came down to Union College because of the coach there at the time, Bob Montana, and Hamilton, and I ended up choosing Hamilton, and very happy that I did. We had a great 4-year run, made the NCAA tournament 3 out of 4 years, and I started for 4 years, and met my wife and some of my best friends in my life.
Well, how do you become such a good passer? Like, is that something you're born with, or did you work on that? Like, what gets a player to be a good assist maker?
Well, and I think I had great coaching, in high school, and then with Coach Murphy at Hamilton. My father was a coach, so I watched a lot of basketball growing up. Kind of studied the game, but being around, really good coaches at the high school level and college level, and then I had good players around me too that made some of my bad passes actually look good. But it was something that I developed over time and tried to find ways within our offense to maybe exploit the defense with our passing. I always chuckle. It was a great honor to be able to lead the country in assists, but I always joked that my the stat keeper was my roommate, so maybe he gave me an extra two or three a game.
Well, you remember Jason Williams, White Chocolate? He would go to a gym
Absolutely.
and pick a spot on a wall and work on behind the pass passes with each hand trying to hit that exact spot. So he specifically worked on his passing. Did you ever do anything specific like that as far as passing workouts go?
I never, would go to a gym, and I worked on my game very, very hard, but I don't remember going to a gym and finding a specific spot to pass the ball. I think again, at Hamilton, I remember just kind of finding ways to exploit the defense within our offense. We saw a lot of down screens, right? So teams would hedge that down screen, and our bigs were able to slip that. I learned early that if the defense couldn't see the ball, you could almost throw the guy open, and that was very beneficial to I guess my development as a point guard. Um, but I can't say I went to the gym and was throwing the ball off a specific spot on a wall.
There's only one white chocolate anyway, so I guess
Exactly.
there's a reason for that. After graduation, you coached at Eastern Connecticut State, Union College, and the University of Rochester. What were your takeaways from these experiences?
Again, three great coaches. Billy Geithner's still at Eastern Connecticut. Bob Montana at Union had a great run. He was a mentor and helps out at Albany Academy with me right now. And then Mike Neer, who's a Division III legend. All three men very impactful on my coaching career. Mike was meticulous in his practice planning, preparation for teams. Coach Montana was an unbelievable offensive mind that I've taken some stuff, the importance of ball reversal, cutting, spacing. I really picked up from him. And Bill's had a ton of success at Eastern Connecticut. Really great at building a program. And he built it from when I got there early in his tenure there, we were bad. And he's developed this program that's been to multiple, NCAA tournaments and has competed at the top of the Little East Conference, which is a great league. So program development from Bill, I guess the importance of practice planning and game preparation with Coach Neer, also a tremendous big man coach, and then offensive kind of philosophy from Coach Montana.
Gotcha. And after that stint, you became head coach at Allegheny. What was that like transitioning from assistant to head? What was the biggest
Well, I
challenge
thought I
for
knew
you?
everything, and that move to that next seat is real, and everyone talks about that. Uh, Allegheny was great. It's a great school, Northwest Pennsylvania. Um, at the time, it was in the North Coast Athletic Conference, which is still around, but the league has had some movement. Teams have left, teams have come in. Really one of the best D3 conferences in the country. Worcester and Wittenberg are two of the winningest programs in Division III, and we competed against them. It was a challenge. We took over a program that had struggled for a few years and tried to rebuild and took our lumps. And by the end, we finished fifth in the league, which was one of the better finishes in a long time at Allegheny. I coached some great young men there, and to this day, I stay in contact with them. I definitely learned a lot on the job on how to run a program and made plenty of mistakes, but definitely, helped me, I think, for my next phase, which is at Albany Academy, to become a better coach.
Yeah, and now let's transition to that. You are now at Albany Academy, which is in Albany, New York, and it's a NEPSAC member school. Give us your pitch on Albany Academy as a school and as a basketball program.
Well, founded in 1813. It's got a tremendous academic reputation here in upstate New York. We've been kind of the premier day school in the area for over 200 years. We are it's a independent boys school and girls school that's coeducational at the high school level, and then a lower school that's also coeducational. We pull from mostly all of the Capital District, and I would say up to an hour and a half outside of the Capital District. We have currently 40 boarding students that are here on campus. We have a tremendous balance of academics and athletics, and our basketball program has been fortunate to be a very, very good, strong program. Brian Fruscio, who's actually at Canterbury, was the reason why Albany Academy took off as a basketball power and really built it up. And I've just tried to sustain it. We've been able to, I think, because of the academic reputation as well as the success we've had in basketball, been able to attract some of the best players in the Capital District, and now we're attracting kids outside of the area because of our move to the NEPSAC. And I think the NEPSAC affiliation, which we've had for 30 years here at Academy and other sports, is only going to strengthen the school, but also strengthen our basketball program.
Absolutely. Now, how many years have you been in AA now?
This is our first year.
First year. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, What's it like so far?
I feel like I'm back in college.
Yeah.
It's
What's
it's
the best part and worst part about playing in AA for a first year team like yours?
um I mean, the best part is just it's the competition is real, right? I think every night you've got to have your game, right? You have to prepare going into each game in practice for your opponent. Um, and if you don't get off the bus, to use a cliche, you could get, you could get handled. And we've been on both sides of that. So I think the coaching's tremendous, the talent is awesome. And couldn't be happier that we're part of it. And I've learned a lot. I probably wouldn't stack our schedule as much as I did in December, but I was so worried about getting games for our first year that I did it. But in hindsight, I probably go a little less. In December, I think we played like at one point 8 games in 11 days.
Ooh.
But it's been a great experience. The travel's been it hasn't been as bad as I thought. We were used to traveling as a program prior to joining the NEPSAC. We kind of played a national high school schedule, especially when we had some elite level players. Um, so that hasn't been as bad. Just every night is so competitive. It's really hard to win on the road. Teams have scouted you. Talent wise, it's tremendous. So again, couldn't be happier that we're part of it right now.
I love it. Now, when families reach out to you and they ask you, Coach, how will you develop my son? What is your strategy on developing prep school players?
We place a big emphasis on player development. Obviously, there's rules that regulate what we can and can't do, but we do a lot of small group work in the mornings at 6:30 before school starts. We'll do more small group stuff after school, and then we have a strength and conditioning coach that works with our athletes at least 3 days a week. We want to make it specific to the player, so we try to individualize it as much as we possibly can. Um, and we don't want to just, especially with young players, um, uh, pigeonhole them and say, "Hey, you're a big, you're a guard." We want to try to develop a player's entire game. We want post players to be able to, develop perimeter skills, whether it's passing or increasing their range. And we want post player or guards to develop post an IQ in the post. We post up a lot of our guards, but even if we don't, I think the concept of developing footwork in the post is really important, even for guards. So we're going to try to individualize it as much as we possibly can for that player. We're going to work. We're going to get after it in the gym. Like I said, a lot of times we're in there 3 times a day in small groups, and I'm open to feedback too from families and players on what they think they need to get better at, and we can work together to do that.
Is there availability on your campus for kids to go to the gym if they have a free period or before school or after practice? And same with the weight room. Like, do they have a chance to get in there and get their own development if they want to?
Absolutely. We have 3 gyms on campus, which we're fortunate to have, a tremendous amount of space specifically for basketball. So if guys want to get in and get on the gun, they can do that. The weight room is supervised a large portion of the day, so there's opportunities to get into the weight room. So that's definitely an option for students.
All right. And do you guys offer a post grad year?
We do. Currently, we have one, and we're actively, talking to a few right now.
Okay. What are the academic requirements for a post grad athlete?
As far as like GPA and grades,
Well,
or
they've already got their diploma. So if they're coming there to do a post grad year, like what's the academic requirements look like? Like what classes they taken?
yeah, I think it depends on each student individually. So the admissions department as well as the counseling, counseling, academic counseling, advising. uh, the advisor will work closely with that student, whether they're on they've been on an AP track and there's opportunities to take some college level classes, or maybe they're not, and that but they want to take they didn't do great in maybe a science class, and they can retake a science class as a post grad. Uh, so it's very individualized, I would say. I don't think there's one clear cut path for any post grad. I think it depends on their past as a student and what they're trying to accomplish moving forward. I mean, do we need to qualify? Do we, or is it a student that's got, a 4.0 GPA that's just trying to enhance their recruitment? Well, we're going to be able to place them in college level classes.
Perfect. Do you guys have multiple teams or just one varsity team?
Right now we have a varsity team and a thirds team. So
Okay.
we're exploring options for next year for maybe a second varsity team yet, but that decision hasn't been made yet.
What about multiple sports? Is it required at Albany Academy, or can basketball players just focus on basketball?
So as a junior, senior, or post-grad, you can focus just on basketball. Prior to that, you're going to be required to do a sport or some type of activity each trimester or each season, fall or spring. But fall, winter, or spring. But there's also some phys ed classes that you could, take a weight room class, or so there's ways around that as well. But junior, senior, post-grad, you can just focus on basketball.
Okay. And coach, what are you looking for in a player? Like, what's your ideal kid you have on your team?
Well, character first and foremost. We've been fortunate at Academy, and again, Coach Fruscio set a really high standard here when he took this program over. In the early aughts, and we're just helping, trying to sustain that. But he's, we always want. We've been fortunate to have very talented players that are good kids. So we want to make sure we're zero maintenance in the building, zero maintenance in outside of the building, and hard workers on the court. From a basketball standpoint, you try to identify, I think IQ and toughness. I think the biggest things for us, and can you shoot it? I think players have three things: talent, toughness, and IQ. I think, the IQ and the toughness thing, I think, are the toughest things to teach. But so if you can find somebody that maybe has got a little bit more strength in those areas, you can work on post moves, you can work on moves off the dribble, you can work on shooting. I think if you can identify players that have, some innate toughness and basketball IQ, I think that really serves you well, especially if you're getting them for 1 or 2 years.
Love it. What do you say to families that ask you about playing time?
Well, first of all, we're gonna try to be honest throughout the process and not over recruit positions. We lose 5 guys this year and return 6. We need, some big wings and some forwards that are versatile. We do return some point, a couple guards that have played point and are coming back. And I'm loyal to those guys. And I'm going to tell parents that. Maybe I have a bias towards them, but I've coached them now for 3 or 4 years. And so, I don't want to just stack talent to stack talent and have kids sit. And I want to have a pathway to success so these kids can reach their ultimate goal. And so I want it to be very clear cut. Obviously, when you get your group that ends up on campus and is part of your program, playing time is going to be earned in practice, and with the decisions that you make, every day, working on your game, how hard, what kind of teammate are you? But we're never going to I'm never going to promise playing time, but I'm also going to try to manage that up front by being very, very honest and not trying to just stack. Hey, we're going to get 5 point guards, and 2 of them are going to play and 3 of them are just going to sit at the end of the bench. I don't want that either. So we'd like balance through the roster from a position standpoint, and then also balance from, what kind of grade they're in as well. If we can get kids for 2 to 3 years and then maybe sprinkle in a post-grad or 2, I don't want to be top heavy with PGs, and I also don't want to have a bunch of youth either. So if we can balance it a little bit, and then we can get kids for 2 to 3 years that we can develop relationships with, help develop. I think that's really important to us as well.
All right, here's a tough one. It's February 2026, and we're seeing now G League players and NBA players trying to come back to play in college. So with that being said, what is your college placement strategy for your final year players?
Well, having coached in college for a bunch of years, and being around for a while now, I'm fortunate enough to have a bunch of contacts at basically all 3 levels. So I always tell guys, if they join our program, we're going to be, you work hard, you do what you're supposed to do in the classroom, in the community. My commitment for you is that I'm going to get on the phone as much as I can. I'm going to hammer the phone. I'm going to call my contacts and try to promote you and get you recruited to the level that I think you should be recruited at. And so I'll work tirelessly for our guys, behind the scenes to try to get them recruited. Obviously, we know that it's gotten more challenging. I think the prep ranks is a little bit more advantageous than, say, a typical high school player. So I think, usually you're going to find an older player at the prep ranks than you would at the high school level. I think colleges are trying to get older, so we have a little bit of an advantage there. I think the importance of trying to identify kids that are good students too is very helpful, because I think the higher academic ones are still kind of going about it the more traditional way than maybe some others. We've had some experience the last couple years with Ivy and Patriot League players. Those schools seem to still be recruiting the more traditional way. So I also, again, it comes back to honesty too. I think you have to set the expectations with families as you get kids on campus that, listen, the landscape has changed drastically. We're going to do our best to help your child out to get to the level that we think they can play at. So I think they need to know that the landscape has changed, significantly as well, and most people do. But I think the importance again on academics, because you don't want to eliminate schools
Right.
in this market, right? You want to be able to have as many options as possible. I also think sometimes people overlook the lower levels too that are still really, 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 really good, and using that as well as a stepping stone.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, your connections, yeah, you've got them from doing it for so long, being at that level. And as a former college coach, what college coaches are looking for. So you probably got a great insight you can give your players that maybe not every coach out there can.
Yeah, I think college coaches want players that can help them win, right? And players
Yeah.
that have talent, toughness, and IQ are going to be zero maintenance in everything that they do. And I think if you can, and you build up credibility, and we've built up credibility as a program with the guys that have come before us. Our guys haven't transferred. We've had guys that have gone on to the Big East, won national championships, Big Ten, and all the way down. And our guys, for whatever reason, we've had very few people transfer, even in this market, in this world that we live in. So, I think the fact that we've been able to build up some credibility too helps us when we call a coach and say, "Hey, we've got a guy for you that you should really consider." I mean, we had a ton of college coaches in our gym last year. A lot of that's because of the players we have, but also the relationships that we have as coaches.
Absolutely. Now, if a ninth, 10th, or 11th grade family reaches out and they ask you about reclassifying or not, what advice do you give them?
Well, I think in today's basketball world, I think if you're a young player that hasn't reclassed yet, you should strongly consider it. And again, I think it's individually based, but I think again, the idea to get another year under your belt, get a little bit older, is not a bad thing. And so, I talk to a lot of families that want to do it. So I'm often just reaffirming what they, I think, already are planning on doing it or doing. So I try to support that, but I think the notion of getting older, getting another year under your belt academically, trying to develop, I think are all good things for a young basketball player and student.
Let's say, yeah, let's say a 10th grader wants to come to your school and they go straight to 11th and 12th grade and they need an extra year. Can they stay there and do a post-grad year? Does your school allow that or not?
Yes, they do.
Okay. So with that being said, is there an advantage of reclassing or doing the post-grad year as far as Albany Academy is concerned?
Corey,
Is it the
that's
same?
a great question. I don't, I don't know. It seems like in the eyes of the recruiting process, it's better to reclass earlier than do a post grad year. And I have no idea why. People ask me that all the time, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So I kind of lean towards. I think you should come in and reclass. The other benefit to that again is we want to try to make this as non-transactional of an experience as
Mm,
possible. Meaning, I want to have kids. The more student athletes I can have in our program for more than just 1 year, and I gets me excited because the opportunity to develop a real relationship, see the growth within one program over 2 to 3 years, I think adds real value to everyone. More important, most importantly, the actual player, but also to our program. And it doesn't mean we won't take post grads. We're actively recruiting them right now, but ideally, we'd love to get maybe a 10th grader that's in high school that's would be in 11th grade to come to academy, reclass, and repeat their 10th year you know, uh,
okay. Gotcha. What do you see as the future of prep school basketball?
Another great question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how equipped I am to answer that right now. Having been in this for 1 year. I mean, I think I can't get over how wildly popular it is, right? I mean, I probably everyone's worst enemy locally now that we've made this move. And I just know, throughout the country, especially in the Northeast, a lot of high school leagues have been, impacted by the better players wanting to go prep. So the demand is unbelievable. I don't know you how some of these EYBL leagues and sneaker company leagues that are out there right now that how that might impact it. But I just continue to I believe it's going to continue to just be unbelievably popular because mainly because of the dynamic that's taking place at the college level where kids have to be a little bit older, right? So, and I'm just every day I'm contacted by people from throughout the world about playing, in the NEPSAC. So I don't know if that's a great answer, but I've been blown away with the popularity of it, the demand that's out there, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Gotcha. Last big question here. It's a big one we ask every coach. What does it take to be a D1 guard in today's college game?
Again, you got to be tough, right? You got to be ball strong. You've got to be able to handle the ball against pressure. I think you've got to be able to make shots. You got to be able to shoot the ball. There's such a premium on being able to shoot the basketball, especially the 3-point shot. I think quickness and strength are so important. I get back to what I said about what players have: talent, toughness, and IQ. Point guards, college guards really have to have toughness and IQ, right? I think in order to be able, you get to college, everything is, I say the prep school ranks reminds me of college, but we're still not college basketball. I mean, the demands that are placed on, especially college athletes in basketball are tremendous, from the preparation, the details that go into offenses, the details that go into scouting reports. So to be able to pick that up quickly, and not, and help your team win are so important. So I think colleges want to identify guys that one can help them win. I think you do that with talent and or with IQ and toughness.
Human toughness. Love it. All right. We're going to do a couple quick hitters. Okay. Best player you ever played against?
Shane Battier.
Okay. Best player you ever coached against at the college level?
Whew, that's a tough question. Best player I ever coached against at the college level. It's going to be a Division III guy, so a lot of guys probably won't know this name. There was a guy at the University of Chicago, Derek Wright, who was unbelievable, an All-American. I think he might have got a cup of coffee in the NBA, or at least a tryout, but tremendous player.
All right. How about in your high school coaching career at Albany Academy? Who's the best player you've coached against so far in your short time there?
I know this is recent, but I have not seen a point guard as good as Deron Rippey in a long time. He's the real deal. And he plays the right way. He's talk about talent, toughness, and IQ. He's got all three. He's a winner, extremely explosive, and I'm sure he's going to be great at Duke.
Okay. Your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption.
It's probably on TV right now.
It probably is.
All right. And lastly, what are your hobbies when you're not coaching?
Love golf. Up until about recently, I'm a big runner. I'm trying to get back into that. So I've run a bunch of marathons.
Oh, sweet.
But so I try to work out, but yeah, golf and running.
Tell me this. I've run a marathon and a half. My half was canceled due to COVID at the last minute. So you tell me, what have you learned by running marathons?
I always finish and I just say I'm never going to do this again, and then I end up doing it again. I love the challenge of like the training, right? That like it gets me a little juiced. The competition of like competing with yourself, the challenge of competing with yourself. Getting up on a Saturday morning and just going for like a 22-mile run. I enjoy the preparation of for the marathon. Although the last one I did the Marine Corps in DC, which is a great one. But I had done a half marathon the week before, just a few days before actually. And after that, I barely finished. I was cramping. I had one of my best personal times ever in the half and my worst showing in a marathon ever at the Marine Corps. And I haven't done one since, but I want to get back into it.
Yeah,
Done
my
some
first was
ultras
Marine
too.
Corps. You've
Yeah,
done
it's great.
ultras.
Done a couple ultras. Yeah.
Tell me your thought. Okay, I know what ultra is. Tell people what those are and why. What possesses you to do that?
Again, it's just I guess the competing with myself, challenging myself. That's that's mainly the reason why I do it. And also, obviously, trying to stay in shape, try to stay fit. But the ultras are a whole different animal. I've done just 50Ks, and I haven't done one of those in 5 years. So I don't know if I'll do another one. And a lot of those were trail runs, which are a whole nother story.
Good for you, man. That's tough. That is tough. No, I was gonna say my first long marathon was the Marine Corps because we were living in DC at the time. That's just a glorious one, and that's where that's where I trained for my marathon was all through DC, which was not a bad place to do it. So
Great place to run. I was just down there around Christmas. My sisters live down there. Running around DC is unbelievable, especially around Christmas with the lights. And I got up early one morning, did like a 5-mile run with my son, but just it's flat for the most part, right? That's a good place to train.
yeah, and after a certain time in the evening, everyone's gone, so it's dead
Yeah,
quiet.
right.
You can
It is.
you can run on the mall, and it's just magical.
Yeah.
Jim, is there anything we didn't touch on in this podcast that you want to mention?
No, I just again really, really excited to be part of the NEPSAC. It's been even better than I thought. Every game is a battle. Our goal is to make the playoffs this year. We're right there. We're gonna have to finish strong these next 3 games in the league. But just looking forward, we really want to get this going and build a championship program, and more importantly, keep helping kids try to get to where they want to get to, and which I know is the college level, and we're going to work as hard as we can to do that. So.
Excellent. Well, Jim, thanks so much for joining the podcast. Coach Jim Driggs, his contact information, if you want to learn more, reach out to him. We'll be in the show notes below. But Jim, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Cory. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you guys like this, be sure to subscribe on all the major podcasting platforms and to our YouTube channel where we have bonus content. And go to prepathletics.com and sign up for our newsletter that comes out once a month so you're up to date on the latest in the prep school world. And any questions you have or any interest in prep schools, reach out to me at prepathletics.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll give you an honest assessment right away. So thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.